Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Yoga and Yum podcast. My name is Sybil, and I'm so happy that you're here. And today I'm really excited because I have another amazing interview. I haven't done one in a while, but I have an amazing interview with what I'll call my new yoga sister. Her name is Shruti, and today we're going to be talking all about yoga with children. So, welcome, Shruti.
Hi, Sybil. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Awesome. I'm so glad that you were able to do this podcast. And thank you for being here. Can you tell the listeners who you are and a little bit about your work in the world?
Sure. My name is Sruthi Raju, and I've been teaching kids yoga for about 5 years now. I am in Orlando, Florida, home of Disney. And we started about 5 years ago, and I started yoga practice when I was, I would say, 6 or 7. So growing up in India, it was a part of our, daily routine, and especially our family being very spiritually inclined, we were exposed to a lot of wonderful things from a young age. So I have to say it starts from there. My grandfather was a Sivananda, huge, Sivananda, devotee, and he always read his books. And I still remember when I was young, he would read his books, underline just the important things in it, and give it to me because I was too young to read a full book. So I think it started very young, and I'm truly blessed to be on this journey. And so when yoga started, I guess it started just to teach my daughter. I went, looking for teacher trainings around. And again, everything is connected. I truly believe in that. And when I was calling around different yoga studios, yoga places, Miss Mira Benzin, mom, I actually spoke to Cheryl, and she was like, believe it or not, we have a teacher training in Orlando this weekend. So it was just meant to be, when it's meant to be, it's meant to be. So, and then comes from a Sivananda lineage, which that's where I connected. And I was like, great. And I did her teacher training and never looked back. And, she is a wonderful influence on you and I both. and,
Yes.
um, and that's how it started. And then, I just started teaching yoga at home for my daughter and my nephews and just a few of her friends. And we did that for almost a year in my house. And the kids were enjoying it. I was really enjoying it. I love teaching kids, and I love being a mom. And luckily, my kids are also a biggest inspiration for me. They eat well. They kind of follow most of the things that we do. So I changed a lot about myself also, right? So you have to be the example that you want your kids to grow up to be. Well, for the most part.
Exactly.
So it all started very organically, right? It wasn't planned. It was just, right time, right place. And it was just, all the pieces were just coming together. And here we are, 5 years later. I have my own studio in Windermere, and I love teaching kids, and I'm here.
Perfect. That's awesome. Yeah, one of my favorite interpretations, I suppose you could say, of the Yoga Sutras is Shivananda's. That's my favorite one. That's the one I go back to all the time. So
Absolutely.
it's wonderful. Now, do you still have your own personal yoga practice or mindfulness practice
Yes, I
still?
do. I do practice yoga every day, every morning, and it's been wonderful. I think it changed me for the better, and I learn every day. I love learning, and I do a lot of different courses, kids psychology. I read a lot of books, and I connect with a lot of people like you and others, to learn more, right? So I feel like I found my purpose through Sky, and I just want to just continue doing this. And, every day, again, my yoga practice helps me become more grounded. I learn more about my body, right? And then it also
Mhm.
helps me teach kids what I'm learning myself. And most of the times my 2-year-old son joins my practice too, which is beautiful. And he does most of the yoga poses with me. So it is so nice. And then he knows when he sees a Buddha, when he sees our Indian God or at a prayer, whatever he sits, he does his ohms. So I think it's really, really nice to have that. And also I got introduced to pranic healing about 3 years ago. So I do my pranic healing meditation every single day. And that has changed my life. That is my happy space, happy place, for 30 minutes every day. I've been doing it and it's been wonderful. So those practices are a part of me every single day.
So how is this is this is not part of our prepared questions, as I did have some prepared, but how is like your pranic healing? How's that a little bit different from your yoga practice, or is it kind of combined?
So pranic healing is the meditation. You do some exercises to open up all your chakras, and then when you do the meditation, you are thinking about all the good things in your life, right? And
Mhm.
one of the best things in my life is my yoga, my sky, my kids, my family, my friends, so all of it is kind of connected. I feel like meditation is probably the next level of yoga, at least for me, right? Because yoga helps me grounded, calms me down, and then it helps me with my practice of meditation. So, you need that calmness, right, to be able to sit for 30 minutes and meditate without any other thoughts or disturbances coming to you. So, yoga blocks those, and then you can meditate. And you can only think about what Swami, Guru says in the meditation. So I think they're connected and they do go well with each other.
That's great. Thank you.
Of
Well, I'm
course.
going to go pivot back to yoga with children. So, originally, you wanted to share yoga with your daughter. Was that when you were thinking about going into a yoga teacher training? Did you just have your daughter in mind, or were you thinking, ooh, I might want to do this with other kids as well?
So when I first started, it was just for my daughter. She's
Okay.
just started kindergarten, and she, again, her and everybody else, right? A lot of kids, this generation especially, have a lot of focusing issues, right? Like
Mhm.
we were always told focus, focus, but did nobody ever taught us how to focus, right? Especially, I
Yeah.
mean, just so it's as simple as that. And when I was looking for answers, right, and everything pointed towards yoga, I'm like, well, we know yoga, right? So why can't, but then I didn't know how to teach her in a fun
Mhm.
way. She was only 4 or 5 years old at the time. And I can't just go teach her hatha yoga and expect her to sit. She's 5. She has an attention span of 15 minutes, So I was like, I was looking for things. So then I'm like, what about a kids yoga teacher training? Because if I do the training, I can get the tools to teach Sahana how to do yoga, right? So that's when it started. And I truthfully just started just to teach her and nobody else. But then the little entrepreneur that she is went to school, told all her friends that, oh, I do yoga. Look at this pose, look at that pose. And all the kids' moms started reaching out to me. And they were like, wait, you're doing yoga? Can we send our kids? Can we send our kids? I mean, one year it was just like my daughters and her friends and us at my house. And that's how it started.
That's amazing. It's so fun when it happens organically. It's like that's when you know, yep, I'm supposed to do this because they come to
Exactly.
you.
Exactly.
That's
It come to
amazing.
me. I was not looking for this. It came to me and I love it.
Oh, I love it. I love hearing stories like that. It's like, yes, it's supposed to happen. So, besides focus, what kind of benefits do you see yoga can have for children, especially your own children or children that you teach?
So I think the biggest part is mindfulness. Sorry,
That's okay.
mindfulness, and it is. just for them to be mindful about everything that they do, everything that they say, right? I think like just teaching them good versus bad, teaching them about feelings, like if they're feeling something, that's okay, right? But then we teach them tools to help them feel better, right? And then also breathing is a big part of our classes. It's literally as simple as, crocodile breathing, which can just ground them and calm them down. And then we teach them satanama, which is a little meditation, right? Anytime they're feeling anxious, nervous, they sit. A lot of my kids, I mean, I've had over 100 kids, I think, that came to me so far in the past 5 years. And everybody knows satanama. Everybody knows that's something they can do in their car, in the bus, in the school, before a game. It's little tools, right, that can help them, with their anxious feelings, when they're feeling nervous, when they're not feeling very good. And also recently it was just, I have my aha moments, a lot of them, especially recently we started preschool yoga with 3 to 5 year olds, and the 3 year old girl started practicing with us for like less than a month. And then the dad told me that she is sleeping through the night for the first time. And, that just, I have goosebumps, but that just makes me so happy, right? She's like doing her little, we gave them little bears. And I taught them bear breathing, where they put it on their stomachs and just breathe and relax. And she's doing that every night before she sleeps, and she's sleeping through the night. And those little moments just make me feel like, okay, I am doing this for the right reasons. So yeah, I mean, there's so many benefits, and these are some of them.
Yes. So, one of the things that you mentioned, I just want to guide the listeners up. We talked about crocodile breathing. And just so that everybody knows, that if this is your first time listening, I do have an entire episode on the benefits of crocodile breathing. I teach it both to children and to adults. I think it's episode maybe 4, but it's just called The Gifts of Crocodile Breath. So go check that out if you haven't heard that, and practice for yourself, and you'll be able to see it's beautiful, it's grounding, it helps you to really access the breath as it moves down toward the belly. It's beautiful. It's wonderful for stimulating the parasympathetic nervous response. It's great for both kids and adults. And then Shruti, you talked about Satanama. I haven't talked about that on the podcast. Can you talk a little bit about what it is, just so our listeners know what it is and maybe how?
So it is, yeah, it is again a simple meditation for the kids to just do it on their fingers. I did learn it from Miss Mira. And it is just like a simple meditation technique, that again, maybe you can do a whole podcast on it. I think it's a great tool. Give it to the kids and parents that are listening. And again, it's just a simple meditation technique that's done on the fingers. And even like as little as 3-year-old can do it. And you just do it 3 times loud, 3 times whisper, and 3 times in your brain. And it is connected to your nervous system. So it does calm your nerves, and it does help you calm down very quickly, and it works. And when you're doing the Satanama meditation, you have no other thoughts other than this, because you have to, you're talking, and you're trying to be mindful, and you're doing your fingers. So, kids can't think about any other thoughts at that time. So I think it is a beautiful meditation that I teach to everyone.
Yes, it's beautiful for children. And if you don't have kids, or you're not working with children, or you don't have grandchildren, it's a great one to do for yourself as well. It's really simple and it's calming. You just have this time where you're focused and breathing, and you give your thoughts a respite from the
Absolutely.
spin that happens.
Absolutely.
Now, in addition to yoga, you've also created other programs for children, like cooking and financial planning. Can you tell us a little bit more about those programs?
Sure. Again, I think mindful eating is a big part of, again, our lifestyles, and especially, this generation, right? So I think even that, again, it just happened. I just, we have a wonderful moms group, all of Sahana's friends' moms, and we were all just talking about, oh, my daughter doesn't eat this, my daughter doesn't eat this. And I think I'm a very blessed mother that my daughter eats every vegetable, every fruit, both my kids actually. And, not to brag about it, but like it is a blessing. It is a true blessing, especially, if kids can eat every fruit, every vegetable. Like, so I just, when all the moms were just discussing, I'm like, maybe I should start a class and just cook with them and kind of introduce them to new things. And then I think the concept is like when your mom tells you, eat this, you're like, no. And then, it's over. But when somebody outside, like me, or I'm their yoga teacher, so they do kind of listen to me. So also, one of my best friends, Dana, she always says, when Ava comes to your house, she tries new things, she eats better. So, that I'm like, okay, let me start a class and see how this goes. And it literally just started just like that. And then we started cooking with the kids, and they all tried new different things. I mean, some kids have never tried edamame before, they've never seen a pomegranate before. Yesterday we had happy belly session in the studio, and like 8 of the 9 kids did not even try a date before. And I'm like, okay, so
No.
exactly. So and we made dessert with dates and nuts and flax and chia, and they don't even know what these ingredients are, and to introduce them to that, I think it's, again, I enjoy it so much, and just like, I mean, of course, both my kids eat all of this stuff every day. So I'm like, why don't I share this with others too? And, when they come here, at least they try new things. I mean, what they take home again. And one of the girls that came to Happy Belly went home and made the date balls for the whole entire family. So it's incredible. It's incredible. And even if one kid benefits from that class, it's a success for me. That, I'm not trying to change everybody's lives at this point. You know what I mean?
Right.
Little
Yeah,
changes and little differences, little things make a big difference. So
they
that
do.
that's how that started. And financial literacy, again, started by chance. One of my dear friends' daughter, she's 11 years old, and she is one of the smartest kids I've ever met. And she learned everything about financial planning, financial literacy, investing stocks from her parents. And I think that's something that I always kind of lacked, I am a financial analyst by profession, but like I've never invested or done a lot of that. I guess, I was focused more on Sky than financial planning, but so anyways, so when I was talking to the mom and she was telling me how her daughter did a lot of investing during pandemic and made this money, and to just her on her own, I'm like, oh, I want Sahana to learn that. Again, it all starts with Sahana. And then I was like, why don't I start a class? We have a studio, and why don't we teach other children just how to the basics of investing? And I reached out to the mom, and she gracefully agreed. And we had financial literacy classes taught by her 11, well, she's 13 now, but by a 13-year-old. And she is just wonderful. And the kids learned a lot. Sahana started investing. So I think it's just little things. And I think this is part of the overall wellness of the children,
Hmm.
right? I mean, I think that is it's not a lot of, I mean, of course, parents invest for their children, and a lot of people are mindful that way, but for them to understand just spending, saving, donating, right? Like
Hmm.
community service, things like that at a young age, charity, I think it's very important, and it is part of overall mindfulness of the kids. So that's the reason we had that included in our classes also.
I love how you kind of see this mindfulness as holistic, right? So it's the mind, it's the breath, it's the eating, it's also planning for your future. Like that is part of it. And like I wasn't taught that. I was taught, oh, save your money, but what does that mean? And I love how you're going out and teaching them like really explicitly how this is done, and also then having one of their peers say, hey, this is how you do it. That's so empowering.
Absolutely. And
It
I'm
blows
all
me away.
about next generation. Like even most my teen classes, I had a teenager trained with Miss Mira again, and she taught the teen class. And I think it's important for that age group to see that, okay, if somebody that age group is doing it, they're more driven towards it, rather than me teaching a teenager. If a teenager teaches a teenager, they're more inclined, and then they see the benefits, right? So I think I'm all about encouraging the next generation, and a lot of yeah, my students, kids, I love that.
Yes, I do too. I think that's just so forward thinking. Like we just have to be more like how do we empower them and how do we teach resilience and all of these things. That just strengthens the world. I love it. So in addition to you doing all of this stuff, you're also an author. Can you tell us a little bit about your books?
Yes. So again, the book hasn't launched yet, but it is becoming better and bigger than I ever imagined. So I did create two books: Mind Train coloring book for little ones and a Mind Train journal. During pandemic, again, I was pregnant with my second baby, and I could not teach, yoga classes. So during my meditation and during my mindful practices, I have all these awesome thoughts that come to me, thankfully. And I was like, why don't I create a journal with all these things that I do, that I want to do, and put it in a book form? Because not all kids are able to just come to a class or come to an online class, or so I wanted to make it more accessible to a lot of children. And also my cousins in India, their kids, they're all like, oh, I wish we had classes like that here, I wish we had this. I'm like, okay, why don't I create a tool where everybody can access it, and it could reach a lot more kids. And my dream is for that journal to reach 1 million children. I'm putting it out there. so
Oh, yes.
so I know you've seen it, and you're helping me with it. So it is very exciting, and I can't wait to launch it, but I am taking my time with it because I just want to make it better. And again, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a doctor, so I am working with, you're a therapeutic yoga teacher. I'm also working with another child psychologist to enhance whatever information I have in the journal. So when it launches, we'll probably do another podcast.
That's what I was thinking. Like when it launches, seriously, I want to do another podcast on it because I've kind of seen at least a couple of different stages, and I'm just like, I'm so excited for this journal. I can't even tell you. I'm just
I
excited.
am too. I am too. I am very excited, but I have a lot of work to do.
It is, and it's worth it. It's gonna be totally
100%,
worth it.
100%. I'm learning during that process, which is great because I love learning new things, and I think it's, again, making me a better person. So it's
Yes,
wonderful.
that's awesome. All right, so what programs, first of all, if you could tell us a little bit about your studio, like if people wanted to find you, if they were in Orlando or the Orlando area, what's the name of your studio? And do you have any programs coming up that maybe they'd be interested in?
So our studio is Loft on Main. It's right on Main Street in Windermere, Florida, very close to Disney. So if you guys are visiting Disney, you can always stop by. And so we do have, we are three partners: Angie Wynn, who's the leadership coach. She's also a yoga teacher. She's the owner of the space. And then we have another partner, Beth, whose Kids Create Art. She's been doing art for over 20 years. She's wonderful. So all three of us do all our classes we have now a second space downstairs as well. We call it We Do Loft. So both the spaces are located in downtown Windermere, right on Main Street. And we have, I would say multi-generational classes. We have classes starting from babies. We have Chit Chat and Play taught by Gabby. She's a speech therapist. We also started prenatal, postnatal, so even before babies, I would say. So we have prenatal, postnatal classes, classes for toddlers. We have Zumbini for toddlers, and then we have preschool yoga, preschool art, kids yoga, kids art, teen yoga, teen art. And then we have adult yoga classes, and then we have meditation classes. So there's everything. We have everything. And like you said, it is like a holistic wellness community space. And that's what we're all about. And there's a lot of more wonderful leadership things coming up for teens. And Angie also does her own podcast. It's every Monday. So yeah, a lot of wonderful things are happening. And we're also doing our first wellness summer camp, actually end of June. We hope you can come, but it's June 26th to 29th. And I partnered with, again, Gabby, and also Harshla, who's an Ayurvedic consultant and a coach. So we're doing Ayurveda, yoga, mindfulness, meditation, everything for kids. And we're also going to cook with them. So it is very exciting. Lots of great things coming up. And yeah, we hope
Yeah,
to see a lot of kids.
that'd be awesome. Now, do you have a website that they could maybe find that information?
Yes, my website is omskylife.com, and my social media, Surya Kids Yoga or Om Sky on Instagram. So yeah, do follow us for updates, and yeah, you can also post the link and they can find
Yes.
us.
I will, in the show notes, I will post those links so that you can find them right away if you are going to be spending any time in that Orlando, Florida area, or if you live there and didn't know that this place existed, please go check it out. Shruti, thank you so much for joining me today. It was lovely to see you and lovely to talk to you.
Absolutely, it's an honor, Sybil. Thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to working with you too.
Amazing. Well, thank you everyone for listening. And as always, here's wishing you all the yum in life. Have a wonderful day or night. Peace.